Chiefs Live, everyone. Welcome to the day that we've all been waiting for, Free Agency 2012. Happy Free Agency Day to yours from everyone here at Chiefs Live.
It's an exciting day. We haven't had this for 2 years.
And you are back from Cancun,
And my
Mexico,
chair's broken.
I actually broke that last week while you were out.
My God, thanks.
And then I figured it'd be a good welcome back gift. And Brad didn't come sunburn at all. A pretty good trip.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't watch the show. Didn't do anything last week.
Watch
Fantastic.
The show.
But I heard you did a great job.
I struggled through it without you, no doubt. I also let everyone know that this is the first time in 6-7 years I've known you, Brad, where you've taken your vacation and not gone to your palatial living room or Cairo, Nebraska, or Omaha, Nebraska. So you were an international man of mystery, got 2 earaches, but you're back, ready just in time for free agency.
Yeah, and honestly, it's really exciting because it'd take my computer to do anything, but obviously it's still trying to check news. And I found out on Monday we franchised Dwayne Bowe. Pretty big news. And then all the Peyton Manning stuff came down. But, I wasn't getting, like, SportsCenter. I wasn't getting, like, Pro Football Talk. I wasn't getting any of this. Just every once in a while in a lobby bar or something, I would see something on Manning. And, wedged in between the local soccer coverage, you'd get a Peyton Manning press conference with Jim Irsay dubbed in Spanish that I would try to decipher from my, high-class Nebraska foreign language education. But he looked sad, so I assumed he was leaving. So as soon as we were flying back to the Houston airport, I paid for the Wi-Fi on my phone, and I read all up. And I'm honestly, and we were talking this before the show, it is such a circus with this Manning thing. I'm happy I've been out of town.
So you look sad.
It's so triste. It looks so sad. It just so ridiculous. And even from the point that I was upstairs in my office, the point I walked to my computer, rotoworld.com, which I love, for fantasy sports, and they also do a lot of other things. It's kind of like Pro Football Talk. They had a story posted 10 minutes ago about how the Houston Texans were interested in Manning, and they just refuted the claim. And they're taking sources from, like, Cameron Gritboy A at a local Houston station and stuff like this. It just really, really brings to light and brings to focus how far the media has come, that anybody could say anything, and they'll just post it on the web, and no one's checking sources, no one's doing anything. That's when people ask me about Manning, and people ask, why are the Chiefs doing this? But we don't know anything. No one knows anything.
No,
it's just to the point. I'm like, you know what? We'll see.
This one's I've had no pulse on, and I've tried to tell people that on Twitter.
Your head will explode if you try to
follow it. It's so big, and it's such a fluid situation. And Chiefs fans were crazy, Brad, while you were gone from, Wednesday through, I guess, about Sunday when the reports that came that Manning wasn't going to visit the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were reported to be out of the running. Were they in the running? Were they not? And everyone was pinging me. What do you know? What can you tell us? And I was like, look, I'm following the reports like everybody else. Unless I was camped out here just looking at the cars that came by and see if I could get a glimpse of Peyton Manning, that'd be the only way I'd even know if he came on a visit. And it was a crazy week as far as the Manning sweepstakes goes, and really free agency started a week early because 3 p.m. today is when you can start signing players, and I know there's some confusion there with fans as well. Chiefs haven't signed anybody yet because you can't. Everyone's still under contract until 3 p.m. Central Time. That's when the league year turns over. Those contracts that expired after the 2011 season, that is the end of the 2011 season, 3 p.m. today. Those contracts expired then. Free agency begins, hence a new league year. 2012 begins in the National Football League. And also, real quick, Brett, let me give our guys here in the chat room, give them forewarning on your comments. May be a little bit delayed because I'm pulling double duty hosting the show and punching through the comments today because our man upstairs is busy at South by Southwest. We're all
busy.
Busy people. So our webmaster is not punching through things today. So forgive me if you're a little bit delayed on your comments, but I will try to get to all of them. I'm already being overrun by them. You can tell it's a big day with free agency. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about free agency, the Chiefs situation. I've kind of created a little bit of a wish list, but in my 7 years with the Chiefs, and it's not just this regime, Brad, it's with Carl and Herm and the others we've worked for, you find out, you think you can predict what the good fits are and the good matches, and then it goes, no, you have no clue. Everybody has a specific way of addressing free agency, and then there's guys that you miss, and like, oh, I see how that guy fits, and we'll try and project some guys that you and I think are good fits, and I'm sure a lot of our fans would think are good fits, and then we'll see if it actually happens here in the coming days. We do know that Chiefs will be active in free agency. I would describe as active but selective. I don't think it's Scott Pioli's MO to recklessly spend money. The Chiefs have cap room to spend, and they will spend that cash, but I don't see a 15 signings today within the first hour. I think it will be a methodical approach to free agency, which is really what you want, because when you deal with free agency, I think it's almost exactly like a crapshoot at some point, minus some of the top guys as the draft. Because once you guys get guys into their 30, 31, 32 years old, they don't pan out when they get their big contract if it's their third contract. In free agency, I really like to look at those guys that are coming off 4 or 5 years in the league, 25, 26 years old, and it's why there's a big market for guys like Brandon Carr who fit that category.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because everyone wants you to go out and sign all these players. It's more like a fantasy football type thing. You really see how that worked out last year for the Eagles. You go out, you sign a bunch of big-name guys, you just put a bunch of Chiefs, so to speak, in one place, and you try to get all these people, all these egos and all this stuff, and try to get them to work on a team. And it's more about what you do on the field. It's more on Sundays. It's more about what you do in the off season and all 6 days leading up to that point. And that's why when you have these visits, all those are really important, because you've got to make sure the guy's got a right brain between his ears. Because when it all comes down to it, there's only X amount of games you have a year, but it's what you do in the off season and in preparation for those games that makes the difference. So you can't just go on a guy's stats or this or this or that.
Sounds like you're describing
and
Albert Hainsworth.
And you're being very diligent. It's like if you win the lottery, and obviously I know a lot of these free agents are really sought after. It's like winning the lottery. You're not going to go to Super Target the next day and spend it all. You know what I mean? You got to take your time and kind of
see. What do you got against Super Target?
I love Super Target. I'm giving them a free plug.
Free plug.
But I think there are a lot of great guys in there, and I know you're going to get to it, but there are a lot of big, not really big name guys, I'm going to say. Obviously, Peyton Manning's the guy everyone's talking about, but there are a lot of guys that really fit the system of the Chiefs. It's a lot of big running backs, a few tackles who've just come open available, like stuff like that gets
Eric Winston from Houston. That
gets real Chiefs fans excited, because it's not a guy who's going to be at the headline of ESPN.com, but they're guys, when you put it on our team, which our team's pretty loaded already, in my opinion, you add these few little pieces and you're well on your way.
The Chiefs don't have many gaping holes in their roster. Offensive tackle is an issue. Brandon Albert's the only player under contract right now capable of starting on opening day. There's only 2 tackles under contract right now. It's Brandon Albert, who's started since he arrived at left tackle, and it's David Mims, who's the developmental rookie. And past that, the Chiefs have no other tackles under contract. So that's a glaring hole, a glaring need right now for this team. Nose tackle was until yesterday, until the Chiefs re-signed Amon Gordon. Amon Gordon's been a great guy. He's a 20-play-a-game backup nose tackle, can do a lot of different things on the defensive front. The Chiefs may still be in the market for a veteran starter, or maybe a player in the draft who can come in and be the every down 3-4 nose tackle. But Amon Gordon was probably on the top of my, you mentioned not the big name signings, Brad. He was on the top of my list as a must re-sign for the Chiefs. And the Chiefs did that yesterday, re-signing Amon Gordon, not letting him hit free agency. He had a career year last year. He was mopping the floor twice with 2 sacks, and really one of my favorite guys on the team, just because of his story and the path he's taken to reach the NFL. In fact, earlier today, I talked with Amon on the phone about re-signing with the Chiefs, his career path, and as always, Amon gave great insight into his path and why he wants to be here in Kansas City. Let's take a listen. Mopping the floor is back in Kansas City. The Chiefs re-signed one of my favorite sack celebrations. He's already laughing on the phone. Amon Gordon re-inking with the team on Monday afternoon. Amon, first off, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And everyone that watches this show, I've replayed your mopping the floor sack celebration plenty of times throughout the offseason already. But give our viewers who may not be familiar with your sack celebration what that's a tribute to.
Oh man, I said this is a blue collar dance for a blue collar fella, and it's been a long time coming, and saying Kansas City is such a blue collar place as well, so I'm sure the people in those industries would appreciate it as well.
Yeah, they definitely appreciate it, Amana. And you mentioned it's blue collar and kind of a tribute to both Kansas City and your career. It took you 7 seasons to find that first NFL sack. And really, this is the first year that you had true playing time consistently. You played in all 16 games. You were one of the most active reserve defensive linemen, playing in nearly 20 snaps each game. What was it about Kansas City that clicked for you at this point in your career?
I think it was just a matter of timing and really seizing the opportunity. And, I think the people in the positions to make decisions, seeing something in me and really just provided that opportunity. It was, just a combination of those things. And, I was just happy I was able to kind of capitalize on the opportunity and make the best of it, and I think that's really all it was.
This is a tough year for players, or a tough time of year, and you especially, you've been through it, being a veteran, being on a number of different teams. What made you want to re-sign with the Chiefs prior to hitting free agency that begins today at 3 o'clock?
Well, it's always tough, as a free agent to pick up and go somewhere else and start all over new. And I've played with Romeo before, and, there's a good group of guys there in Kansas City, real cohesive, in spite of all of the adversity that we faced, with injuries and setbacks. It was still a team. It was still a complete team effort, and it wasn't very many fingers being pointed. And I think that's a sign of a whole bunch of individuals who really love the game, and that's important to me. And let alone to play for a coach of caliber of our coach, Coach Grinnell. That's one awesome opportunity that I did want to take advantage of.
You're now the veteran of that nose tackle group with Kelly Gregg hitting free agency later today, and reports out of his hometown or near his hometown in Oklahoma that he's possibly considering retirement. What does that mean for you as being the veteran of the group, and what are some of your goals as you report to another year in Kansas City coming up in April?
Oh, being the veteran of the group, wow. It's kind of like a long time coming. I just feel like I'm going to take the same approach as, put one foot in front of the other, make sure I get my work in every day, try to help the younger guys as much as I can, and maybe more so just leading by example, trying to do the right things, and hopefully that will make the impression, to the guys who haven't seen live bullets before, or that many of them, I just want to go out and really help and contribute, in any way I can, similar to last season.
Is there anything, if you were to talk to a younger player, or really just to our fan base here on a day like today where players will either not be extended to contracts or they'll have other offers, or really in the last week some guys have been released, whether it's for salary cap or for other reasons, just explain some experiences that you've had in your career with that, how difficult it is this time of year for players, and maybe you have a personal story that you remember of a time you were released or a time that you hit the free agent market.
Oh, it's definitely a nerve-wracking thing when you're out there and you maybe, just you don't really understand what's going to happen next. And this is our lives, first of all, so this is the way we make a living. On top of it being an awesome game that we love to play, but that can be daunting at times, and there's really no other way to get through it but, to continue to believe and have faith that, somebody out there, may want your services and may want to, to come and get you. Other than that, it's really a difficult thing. It's a nerve-wracking thing. And, I've been through it on multiple different occasions, not necessarily in the off-season. It's been in almost every other period of the year in the off-season where I have been released in training camps, regular seasons, etc. and that makes it difficult. You really have to stay on top of your game and stay in shape and stay ready for that call or that workout, and really wow people when you do get that opportunity. And so I just thankful and fortunate that I've been able to do that, and finally found a home in KC.
Yeah, Aman, you're re-inking with the team for your second year here. Take us through your mindset when you came in to training camp, because you were a bit of an unheralded free agent pickup last year, and I mean that with all due respect, but they gave you number 64 and put you on the defensive line. You signed. The training camp had been going on for well over a week by the time you came into camp. It was kind of after the first wave of free agents. So when you got to St. Joseph, Missouri last year and got into camp, what was your mindset on how you could make that team? And now look at you, you've re-signed with the squad for another season.
Well, I knew that coming in that I was going to have to try to be able to contribute in multiple different fashions and multiple different schemes in the front, the various packages, try to be able to do something, at least play one position in whichever package. So, they have a saying in this business that the more you can do, I guess the better your opportunities are. Maybe that rings true for this situation. And I guess my resolve was just to go out, work, grind it out, and see what can become of it. It really was kind of a blur for me. I was really going through a tough time personally. Before I had come out to camp and was almost really, considering retirement. I was almost going to donate a kidney for my sister.
Wow.
I was, with my sister in the hospital. I wasn't even in my hometown. So my mind was really far away from football, to be honest with you. So I really just came in and I just went for it, and that's just the bottom line. Grind it out every single day, try to put my best foot forward, and just see what happens. And it came out on top, I guess.
Yeah, you definitely did, and sometimes you have to be at that edge to reach new heights, and I think you certainly did last year, at least statistically. You had a career season. You mentioned playing multiple positions on the defensive front, Aman. You're the only nose tackle to do that, and it's rare in the league. Most guys who play nose tackle don't play in sub-package sets, as a 3 technique or whatever it may be. Why is it's so hard for a big guy in the middle to play multiple positions on the defensive line?
Well, I mean, the defensive front, when you put your hand in the ground for a living, it's tough duty. Sometimes, a thankless occupation. But there's a big learning curve, in spite of popular belief. It's a really, I don't know, how would you say, one of those positions that are specialized but not necessarily called a specialty position, or a skill guy kind of a position. But there are a specific skill set that you must require to be proficient in playing the defensive line. I think a lot of times, there guys will, they just have one job and they just do their job, and that's that. But I think in my case, just being able to do more than one thing is, I think, the thing that's kept me around and kept me alive after these years. So that's something I really tried to hang my hat on, so to speak, and just hope for the best outcome. But I think why you're asking is why is it so difficult is because, as I said before, it's not labeled as a skill position, but there are a specific set of skills that you must acquire, to really be proficient in, playing multiple roles on the front.
Aman, I know you've had a recent addition to the family over the past year or so I won't take up much more time with you during the off season. But tell us what you've been doing this off season, where you're at, and how excited you are to come back to Kansas City in April.
Oh, I just been taking it light, trying to stay in shape, really trying to spend time with my family and catch up for a little lost time. And really, that's it. I'm a simple guy. Just and really trying to relax and heal. And that's really pretty much it. Just staying focused, doing the thing that I have allowed me to continue to play after all of this time. And so I just stick to my program that I have, and just get ready for the day to roll around to put more and work in.
We're all looking forward to that day to see you and some of the new additions that come to the Chiefs through free agency, which begins today, and through the draft this coming April. Ahman, one more time, congratulations, man, and just on your career and your path and re-signing with the team yesterday.
I definitely appreciate you all. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Take care. Ahman Gordon, again, one of my favorites, and it's not just because of mopping up and the blue-collar attitude he brings here, Brad, with that sack celebration. It's because it's just like that. He's an interesting guy. He's got a great story, and he broke out with the Chiefs, and he's found, really, he broke some news there. Said he was contemplating retirement before last season, was thinking about losing 30 pounds and donating his kidney to his sister who wasn't doing very well with dialysis. And the Chiefs call, and his career kind of gets reborn. And look at him now. He re-signs with the team after a career season, and I think very much fits into this team's plans next year. He's a veteran of the group, and you'd say, well, right now he'd be number one on the depth chart. I think his role is that he's explained that versatile lineman who can play 15, 20 snaps. Very important to have on your team, and a guy who can step into a starting role if need be. I think it's a big re-signing for the Chiefs. Ahman Gordon is now the 9th player the Chiefs have protected or re-signed that was due to have an expiring contract after the 2011 season, which ends today at 3:00 p.m. That's why the Chiefs were able to re-sign him. Technically, they don't re-sign him. They give him a contract extension because he never became a free agent. He's still the Chiefs' property until 3 o'clock today. And he joins such guys such as Dwayne Bowe, who got the franchise tag. The Chiefs protect him. Javon Belcher, a second-round tender. Basically, what that means is Belcher can negotiate with other teams. If the Denver Broncos wanted to give Javon Belcher a 5-year, $50 million contract, and the Chiefs said, hey, that's too much for us, you can have him for that, and we'll take your second-round draft pick. That's basically what a restricted free agent means, and that's Belcher's situation. Not a surprise the Chiefs put a second-round tag on him. You look at other guys who have re-signed that were due to hit free agency at the end of this year, and you have, in addition to Gordon, Jake O'Connell, a backup tight end who re-signed with the team. He would have been a restricted free agent. Corey Greenwood, who's been probably the best special teams player over the past 2 seasons for the Chiefs. He re-inked a 4-year extension back in January. Brandon Seiler, hopefully he can come back from that Achilles injury and compete with Javon Belcher for a starting role at the Mike linebacker on the strong side next to Derek Johnson. He was on a 1-year deal. He re-signed with the team. Ryan Suckup, we know, had an extension. Brandon Flowers had an in-season extension. And you can even include Tamba Hali on this list because Tamba Hali, as you remember, had agreed to a 1-year franchise tag and re-inked a 5-year contract extension just before training camp. So 9 total players have been protected. When we come back on Chiefs Live, we're going to look at the guys who are unprotected, the Chiefs' positions, and what it means going forward at each position through free agency. And we'll also take a look at maybe a couple guys that interest you and me that might be out there when that 3 o'clock bell rings. We'll be right back on Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers.
Together, we are music. Hearts beating to the same drum. We are many, but we are one. Brothers of the Sun.
The concert event of the year. Brothers of the Sun Tour. Superstars Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw. With Grace Potter and the Nocturnals and Jake Owen. Tickets will go on sale Friday, December 9th at 10 a.m.
The new Chiefs team store is located on the Founders Plaza on the north side of the new Arrowhead Stadium. Open on game days and from 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday throughout the season. The team store has the largest selection of Chiefs merchandise in the Kansas City area, featuring official sideline apparel from Reebok. And you can shop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at kcchiefs.com. They sacrifice, they protect, they answer the call at all times. They are the men and women of our armed forces, and their will, heart, dedication, and service to the country that we call home is nothing less than extraordinary. Return the favor. Text the word return to 90999 now for your $10 donation, or simply visit returnthefavor.org. Please join us in returning the favor.
All right, here we go. Position by position preview on Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers on March 13th. The day free agency begins. We're now just a mere 2.5 hours away. I am giddy. Free agency, it's fun.
We missed out on it last year. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, you're back from Cancun. Everything's great in my world. And Mitch Holthus is calling the NIT Oral Roberts versus Nevada game. It's either tonight or tomorrow. So
throw
everything
the
is right.
records out.
Throw the records out. It's the game everybody's talking about. Oral Roberts versus Nevada.
By
NIT
everybody,
tip.
you mean us.
And Mitch.
Yeah.
I text him, I won't even get into it. Let's just get right into free agency. Let's take a look at Chiefs positions. Let's start with quarterback, since our chat room's been talking about Kyle Orton nonstop. It seems like the Kyle Orton, Matt Castle debate that goes on. Kyle Orton, Tyler Palko, the two Chiefs quarterbacks that are free agents. Orton will be an unrestricted free agent at 3 p.m., and Tyler Palko would be an exclusive rights free agent, meaning if the Chiefs want to keep him, they can. It's full exclusive. They have not put a tender on him, so all indications that Tyler Palko will walk and not return, but the Chiefs could still put an ERFA tender on him before 3 p.m. today, which there is still time to do so. So you look at the Chiefs quarterback situation, you know they're going to add a quarterback to the roster. You have Matt Castle as a starting quarterback right now, and the only other quarterback under contract is Ricky Stanzi. So let's take Peyton Manning away, as who knows, maybe Peyton Manning ends up here, but it seems that he's moved on at this point. At least that's what all the reports indicate. So what's next for the Chiefs? Who do they get through free agency, or do they go through the draft? I think number one, to Chiefs fans and probably in-house, which the Chiefs have said, re-sign Kyle Orton. The intent to re-sign Kyle Orton. He came in, captured the locker room, did well in that role with the Chiefs, is actually good friends with Matt Castle, which was interesting to me. He knows the system. Romeo Crennel obviously likes him a lot. He went 2-1 as a starter, including this win the Chiefs had, knocking off undefeated Green Bay. Kyle Orton, I think, is number one on the Chiefs list to re-sign as far as unrestricted free agents go at quarterback. Now, with the thin free agent market the way it is, Kyle Orton is likely going to test the waters, because there's teams out there that need starting quarterbacks or need a guy who can compete to win a starting quarterback job. And to be honest with you, there's just not that many free agent quarterbacks that are better than Kyle Orton out there on the open market this year.
He's a proven guy. He can be a starter somewhere. It's a question you got to ask yourself. Does Kyle Orton want to go to some place where he could start? He's not going to have to compete for a job. Does he want to win? The guy's an overtime block kick away from being 3-0 with the Chiefs, which obviously probably would have got a playoff game in there as well, coming in late, which is very impressive. According to Pro Football Talk, talking about quarterbacks, there are only two quarterbacks ranked higher than Kyle Orton in their free agent Hot 100, compiled by our friend of the show, Evan Silva. Obviously, number
all
one.
Those guys are friends of the show except Florio. That shows you how we rank.
Florio's good dude.
NBC Sports. We get Silva and Rosenthal, but friend of the show.
You obviously, I'm just going to run through these names, and you could just give me a yes or no if that's something that you would like having. I'll give you the ranking. This is obviously this isn't just for the Chiefs rankings or how they would fit with us. This is just the Evan Silva's free agent Hot 100.
The Hot 100. You listen to it on Chiefs Live.
Personally, as a Chiefs fan, speaking as a fan with the chat room, all you got to say is, would you want him to be playing for the Chiefs on Sundays? Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Number 16, Packers quarterback Matt Flynn. I would say no.
I'm not sold on Matt Flynn. I think you have to pay a lot for a guy who's unproven.
He's ranked number 16 right now.
Yeah, not sold on Matt Flynn.
And this isn't quarterbacks. This is all people. Number 40, Kyle Orton.
Yes.
All right.
Without a doubt.
Number 51 of the ranking of the free agent top 100, Dolphins quarterback Chad Henne.
Yes. And I say that because Chad Henne, and I know a lot of Chiefs fans will probably roll their eyes. Chad Henne's a guy who, when you look at the free agent quarterbacks, number one, he has a connection with Brian Dable, and Brian Dable liked him before he got hurt in Miami. The thing I do like about Henne, though, is you want a guy who can win you a football game if he's the backup quarterback. If Henne backs up Matt Castle and Matt Castle goes down, you want a guy who goes in there and can run the offense efficiently and can win you football games. I believe Chad Henne can be that guy. He needs a change of scenery. Chad Pennington said it as those two had competed. But the thing I also like about Chad Henne is he has all the intangibles. It hasn't worked out for him in Miami. But it's not because he's a Jamarcus Russell guy who didn't study. The guy's headsy. The guy's with it. It just hasn't worked out for him. But, Brad, he's 26 years old. Most of these free agents you're going to bring in, a David Garrard or someone that are over 30 years old. Chad Henne makes sense for the Chiefs. Then you bring in the debate, though, would you rather draft a guy high versus Henne? But my short answer, Henne, yes, he makes sense for the Chiefs in free agency after Kyle Orton.
Now, at 53, the Evan Silva's free agent top 100 from Pro Football Talk. 49ers quarterback Alex Smith. I read reports the last few days that they're really, really close to becoming a deal. Just in terms of just entertain me. Is that a guy that you'd want to be playing for the Chiefs?
Alex Smith. Don't see him in Kansas City, so I don't even think it's worth answering.
I would say no.
I did like his moxie this year and the way he stepped up, but I'd say no.
All right, number 71, Jason Campbell.
Jason Campbell, he makes sense for the Chiefs. It kind of fits in the same category, but I'd put him after Henne, after Orton. He was Jim Zorn's starting quarterback. You have that relationship. He's a guy who can win games with a powerful rushing attack. He was very good for the Raiders this year before he got injured because the Raiders were able to run the football. With the Chiefs being able to run the football, a guy like Jason Campbell, he's not going to be your franchise quarterback, but if he's going to be your two or compete or push and increase competition, yeah, I think he makes sense from the free agents that are available this year.
Would you compare him to a Kyle Orton where if Jason Campbell wanted to go somewhere, you think he could be penciled in as a starter, or you think he's going to have to go compete somewhere?
I think Kyle Orton, Chad Henne, and Jason Campbell are in the exact same boat. I think Orton probably has a head up on them, but I think they're all in the same boat. I don't think anyone's going to sign those three guys and say, this is our starter. I think any of those guys, and Orton's probably has the best opportunity, but I think any of those guys, it's going to be, we're bringing you in to compete, and you're having an opportunity to win the job, but I don't think any of them is going to be signed and this is our starter from day one, which is a question you have to ask about Jason Campbell, because never in his career, except I can't remember if he started his rookie season or not, but since his second season, if he did not start as a rookie, has he not gone through a full off season and full training camp as a starting quarterback? It's always been unquestioned starter everywhere he's went. You wonder how he'd accept a role of competition. But at this stage of his career, I don't think he has a choice.
I'll throw the last two, and I'll throw them for the sake of time in together. David Garrard, who said it all last season, and then Vince Young.
I'm no on Vince Young. I don't think he fits the mold. I don't think so. And David Garrard, I actually like Garrard a lot. I think you can get him later on. You don't have to. You can figure out what your quarterback situation looks like. And you got to find out if he's healthy. I actually really liked him with Jacksonville, but he's older. He's had injuries. But I do think if he's healthy, he can win you football games. I think that's down the road.
Okay.
So Chiefs will add a quarterback. We do know that. We just don't know who it will be. And as we talk about draft and free agency, Brad, quarterback's a perfect example, and we're going to see it in a bunch of different positions. What the Chiefs do in free agency at some of these spots is going to give you a blueprint to the draft. They go out and sign the nose tackle, Salai from Miami. You're probably not going to draft Terry Poe from Memphis, 11th overall, like most of the mock drafts have here. If you don't address nose tackle through free agency, Poe is definitely a guy that you'd highlight as a possible mock draft pick at number 11. I think everything feeds off free agency. We're back in a traditional offseason, which is nice. Remember last year, draft before free agency, everything was reversed because of the lockout. You have free agency, you fill your needs, then you go to the draft. Let's keep going down the Chiefs list as we move along here on Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. We did quarterback. Let's look at running backs. I think there's going to be some turnover this year at the running back position. As you can see, you have Jackie Battle scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent, Thomas Jones and LaRon McClain. That leaves the Chiefs with 3 running backs on the roster right now. 4 running backs on the roster. Jamal Charles, coming off ACL surgery, is your starter. Backing him up is Dexter McCluster, and you have Sean Drone, who was promoted to the practice squad for the final game of the season, coming in as your number 3 back. Your only fullback on roster right now is a guy who's largely unproven. Rookie Shane Bannon, a 7th-round pick out of Yale. Bannon is unproven because he spent not only the entire year on the practice squad, but he was on the practice squad injured list. He suffered an ankle injury, and so he's largely unknown as well. Let me just start off with fullback before we go into running back. Do the Chiefs bring back LaRon McClain? I know a lot of Chiefs fans like LaRon McClain. A lot of Chiefs fans want back LaRon McClain. I think the first thing you have to ask, Brad, with the Chiefs and LaRon McClain is, how is Brian Daboll going to use the fullback position? Bannon and McClain are more of your traditional fullbacks. McClain can do a little bit more in the receiving game and a little bit more as a ball carrier than Shane Bannon can. But neither one of them are in the mold of Charles Clay, which was Brian Daboll's fullback of choice with the Miami Dolphins.
He shredded us last year.
He shredded us. He's an H-back kind of flanker. Is he a tight end? Is he a fullback? I don't know. He's a smaller guy. One of those types of guys. They like to move him around. He was a very versatile fullback, a pass catcher. If that's Brian Daboll's preference, I'm not sure LaRon McClain or Shane Bannon fit into plans. We don't know what Daboll's preference is, but that's something to keep in mind as the
Charles
Chiefs
Clay is kind of a what you would call like a Joe Makovicka type. From the early, you get about 20 carries, you do this, I guess you're not going back to 80s.
He's not at all like Joe Makovicka.
I will, Joel.
Joel.
I will say, since the show
Husker
started,
pride.
other news in coming down for Pro Football Talk, the Texans did release fullback Lawrence Vickers. So there's another fullback that's out there. It's really interesting. Since we start the show, all these different things have been coming down, including the Saints re-signing Marcus Colston to a 5-year, $40 million deal because, just like you said, you want to sign the guy before they get to free agency, and there's a lot of people being released. There's tackles. I believe I know we'll get the offensive lineman, but just off the top of my head, the Chargers also released Mike McNeil, or is it Marcus McNeil? Marcus McNeil, the 2-time Pro Bowler, who got injured last season, and then they had the revolving door at the left tackle position.
More cuts coming up before that 3
Exactly.
o'clock time frame hits. So the Chiefs at fullback, what are some external options? I think number 1 on my list, your list, and every fan's list is Mike Tolbert of the San Diego Chargers. We've seen this guy. He fits. He makes sense because not only can he serve you as a fullback, but he can also be a featured running back if Jamal Charles isn't necessarily healthy. And he's kind of that thunder to lightning type of deal that you could sign. I think he would be number 1 in all fans' eyes as a fullback, hands down. Would you agree? Most Chiefs fans would prefer Mike Tolbert. At the running back position, I mentioned I think we're going to see some turnover with Thomas Jones and Jackie Battle. Let's first talk about Jackie Battle. Battle has stated he wants to test the free agent market, and I think he's earned that right. In Kansas City, he has been fantastic in his role as a short yardage back in special teamers. Last year, because of injuries, he got to show what he could do as a primary ball carrier. And that's not going to be a guarantee if he re-signs with the Chiefs. They're in the market to add more at running back. Jackie Battle has earned the right to sniff, and you can at least see what other offers are there. I think the Chiefs want him back. If I had to guess, I think he does come back to Kansas City, Brad. It's the only place he's played in his career. In fact, actually, he started off in Dallas but was cut, never played a game for the Cowboys. Jackie Battle is a guy you love to have as your third,
He's a huge fan,
fourth
favorite
running
here,
back,
too, I would say.
core four special teams guy, a valuable member of this team. The Chiefs said they want him back. He really says he kind of wants to be back here, but just wants to see. If someone's going to say, hey, Jackie, we really like what you did. We want you to be a 1-2 rushing combination. That may not happen in Kansas City, and he may go there. He had a career year rushing. I think he's earned the right to see what's out there. I hope he comes back. I think all Chiefs fans hope he comes back, and I know that the Chiefs front office wants Jackie Battle back in red in 2012. Thomas Jones, on the other hand, has been it's pretty quiet. I think the assumption is Thomas Jones doesn't come back. He'll turn 33 years old. You really saw him slow down at the end of last season. On the other hand, he's been a fantastic mentor to Jamal Charles. People outside of Arrowhead don't always see that. But Thomas Jones, even he'd tell you, is at the tail end of his career. There's even been hints of possible retirement. He hasn't said anything like that. And if I know Thomas Jones, he hasn't missed a game since 2005. In his mind, he can still play. Where he ends up I'm not so sure if that's Kansas City or not. At running back, externally, I think that some natural fits. Brad, actually, I'll just let you go off your Power 100 there.
Evan Silva's Power 100 free agent running backs, just like we did before. These are the top 100 players, not running backs. 21, Pro Football Talk had Raiders running back Micah Bush. Is that a guy that you see as a possibility?
I think.
Do you like him?
I do like him.
I don't like him. I love
like him. That's your guy. I don't see him in Kansas City. I would be happy if the Chiefs signed him, though.
All right, and then it goes down a little bit. Browns running back,
Love him.
the pride of Arkansas, Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis. Like it. I don't know what he's can command on the open market. You don't want to overpay for a guy like Peyton Hillis, but he's in the Mike Tolbert mode where he can play fullback for you. He can play running back and be that 20 carry a game guy. If Charles doesn't come back from an ACL the way you hope, if Charles does come back, you've got a great 1-2 punch with a guy like Peyton Hillis there. He's been the primary guy. He's been sharing a backfield role before. I like Peyton Hillis a lot. I see his fit in Kansas City.
All right, down at 46, Chargers running back Mike Tolbert.
Already gave my comments on Tolbert. I think I speak on behalf of all Chiefs fans. That seems to be the feedback I get from Chiefs fans is he's the number one guy everyone wants, really for the same reason as Peyton Hillis.
One of the personal favorites of our show producer, Adam Pellegrino. The law firm,
The
Ben
law
Jarvis,
firm.
Green Ellis.
You got a guy with Patriots ties. You can't ever count him out.
He's
Ben
very
Jarvis
durable,
Green
very
also
durable guy.
has never fumbled, has not fumbled. I know the Patriots want to re-sign him. You look at Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. He was a rookie free agent in Scott Pioli's final rookie class with New England in 2008. Didn't make the team out of training camp, went into practice squad, and then got called up later that year when they had injuries to a bunch of guys like Lamont Jordan. And he hasn't been back on the practice squad since. I think there's definitely a fit there. I don't know. If you ask me whether I would have Tolbert or Hillis or Green Ellis, I'm not sure. Green Ellis is in that same mold. He can't play fullback, but he can also share a role, be a primary role. He doesn't fumble the football.
He's the ultimate team guy, in my
Yep,
opinion,
the
as
ultimate
well.
team guy, and he has ties to the Chiefs and Scott Pioli. So if it's a yes/no, he definitely makes sense, I think.
Well, through then these next three guys together, because they're a little bit lower on the rankings. Lions running back Kevin Smith, Cedric Benson, and then Justin Forsett of the Seahawks.
Of those three, I'd take Forsett.
The three guys, yeah. I think when I look at those three names, other than Cedric Benson, because he's getting a little bit older, Kevin Smith and Justin Forsett are guys when you think about that are going to be, I think about those guys from a fantasy football perspective as being a mid-season free agent acquisition when you get an injury.
Let's move on to tight end as we want to get in all the positions here before we reach our 1 o'clock hour. Tight end's another position where the Chiefs will likely be looking to add a body through the draft or free agency. The roster right now, it's Tony Moeaki coming off ACL surgery as your starter. Jake O'Connell, who hasn't done a whole lot in his career with the Chiefs since entering the team as a 7th-round pick in 2009, returns, and the Chiefs also moved Steve Maneri from offensive tackle to tight end this year. The free agents, Anthony Beck and Leonard Pope. Anthony Beck, let's start with him, 35 years old, wants to play, was the blocking tight end. I think the Chiefs, they can go out and get Beck at some point if they want him back. He was mainly a blocker last year. I think they're going to give a look at Steve Maneri in that role, that third tight end who's basically a 6th offensive lineman. Maneri played tight end at Temple. He played a little bit of the eligible tackle last year. I think that move Maneri from tackle to tight end is to give him a look. Maybe he can be the number 3 tight end as that block specialist a la Jason Dunn in the mid to early 2000s. You look at Leonard Pope. I love Leonard Pope, one of my favorite guys on this team. I'm not sure if he fits into the Chiefs' plans going forward. We'll have to wait and see. He led the team in penalties last year. He was frustrating at times in that regard. But I also felt he stepped up at times in a tough situation where they asked him to be more of a pass catcher when he's a 6'8" man who's more of a blocker. Love Leonard Pope. One of the nicest guys, one of the biggest personalities. I hope he's back. My honest opinion, I don't know. I don't know where he fits going forward with the Chiefs and what the Chiefs can do in free agency or the draft. Let's talk free agents. As you pull up your list, who we got number 1?
Number 1, coming in at number 79 is Cowboys tight end, former Aggie Martellus Bennett.
If he's an Aggie, I'm good with him.
Aggie's good with him. I think he hasn't really done much with Dallas, but he's
always been a potential guy. People love
he's had
the
potential
guy's,
forever,
the guy's potential, and he hasn't ever. There's a couple guys I like on that list more than him. Keep going.
On the list, recently released after signing a pretty nice contract last year's Raiders tight end Kevin Bowles.
Like a boss. You know what? I didn't even think about Boss because he was just recently released. Keep going.
We'll package these next two together for time. Colts tight end Jacob. Is it Tam or Tammy? Jacob Tammy. Bears tight end Kellen Davis.
Those guys. Let me just cut to the guys that interest me the most.
John Carlson, Dallas Clark are the other two guys.
You got one. John Carlson. I love John Carlson. I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of the more underrated guys. Missed the year because of a shoulder surgery last season. A lot of people forget he set a Seahawks record with something like 50-something catches for 700 yards, a rookie record for tight ends. He's a guy who's in the Tony Moeaki mold, but can block a little bit as well, and so can Tony. But he's a pass catcher. He's good for 50-plus catches a season. I think he's going to offer value on the free agent market. I also like, as a veteran, Vasanti Shenko from the Minnesota Vikings. He's older than John Carlson. He's been around the block. This would be his third team. So you got to do your research on a guy like that. But if you want to have veteran stability and have a guy who can catch passes, who can block a little bit, if Tony Moeaki does not bounce back from injury or suffers another injury, I think both of those guys are worth looking at. And some of the guys you said as well, Brad, are interesting prospects as well. Really, though, this offseason, Carlson and Shenko are the two guys who I've kind of looked at.
John Carlson, he said he is young, only 27. Only 27.
Yep, another reason why I like him as well, and kind of forgotten because he missed all of the 2011 season. And he says he's going to be full go and ready for 2012. So we will see what happens at tight end. Let's move over to offensive line, and we'll bundle them all as a whole. The Chiefs at tackle, I mentioned earlier in the show, Brandon Albert, he'll be your starting left tackle. There's no one at right tackle right now. Barry Richardson is an unrestricted free agent at 3 o'clock p.m. David Mims is the only other tackle on your roster right now, Brad, and he's never played in an NFL game. He's only been inactive from the practice squad for the final month and a half of the season. The rest of your Chiefs depth chart with Casey Wigman becoming an unrestricted free agent, that you would presume makes Rodney Hudson your starting center right now, pencil him in. At the two guard positions as starters, you'd have Lilja on the left and John Asamoah on the right. Ryan O'Callahan is likely to retire after suffering a season-ending shoulder surgery in the preseason. So really it leaves the Chiefs with, right now, you could pencil in 4 starting spots. Albert from left to right, Albert, Lilja, Hudson, Asamoah. Your right tackle is blank. It's a huge need for the Chiefs to not only get 1 tackle, but 2. You can talk about free agency and the draft. You need to find multiple guys at that position. And in a deep free agent market at guard and center, there's some need for depth there as well. Your 3 backups at those positions, all from the practice squad last year, Darrell Harris, Rob Bruggeman, and Lucas Patterson. The Chiefs very, very thin on the offensive line. They've said they're going to address the offensive line, so stamp it, seal it, star it. Chiefs' offensive line is the position of need heading into free agency.
You know, and with the signing of Colson earlier today, I don't know if they're going to get the deal done with Carl Nix, but it looks like he's going to be hitting the free agency wire as well, guard from the Saints. Also, some news coming out, I believe it was yesterday, that the Texans cut right tackle Eric Winston. And I know 2 weeks ago,
You're talking to Chiefs fans
and
right
the
now.
last time that I was
They're
on the
buzzing.
show, everyone was talking about, we talked about how limited the tackle free agency market was when your number one guy was, what's his?
Jared Gaither.
Jared
Yeah,
Gaither's
yeah,
number
it's
one guy. You
forgettable
got
hearing
Colombo and
him.
you got all these guys, but obviously trying to free up salary cap, trying to asking guys to restructure contracts, and they're, you know, it's, I know they call it a cap casualty, but that's kind of the way they make contracts, is you get a certain amount of money, then you get a certain bonus. And, you know, the Texans, if they're trying to make some moves, I mean, they're at a point where they're going to be losing some guys too. I think Eric Winston is a guy, Pro Football Focus is a, I don't know if anyone ever checks that website, it kind of goes through and it evaluates different players as far as their rankings, whatever. He was a number 6 right tackle in all the NFL. According to this, it's like missed blocks and all this kind of stuff. And he was like the number, I think, he was a top 15 tackle in all of the league. The Texans' offensive line is so loaded that they could afford to lose this guy. That's what a lot of people ask me. It's like, how could you cut this guy? He's unbelievable. Well, the rest of their offensive
Same
line
with
is
$4.5 million too.
absolutely loaded.
And
So
maybe they won't pay
Eric
him
Winston is a guy who's going to go out there and he's not going to have a problem getting back that 5.5 base salary that he was going to get from the Texans from somebody, because the tackle market is so thin.
A depleted tackle market. A lot of Chiefs fans understandably interested in Eric Winston. I don't see why the Chiefs wouldn't do their due diligence on the guy. He's a starter at right tackle. You need a right tackle. The free agent market is extremely thin at right tackle, at left tackle, pretty much anyone that can play on the edge. He makes sense to check out, and I would imagine the Chiefs are checking him out.
You saw what the Texans did running the ball last year.
Exactly, and the Chiefs have a big need at right tackle, and so Eric Winston, I agree with all the Chiefs fans in the chat room that are chanting his name and saying, check it out. I'd be shocked if the Chiefs didn't at least explore the opportunity. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't sign him or if they signed him, but I'd be shocked if they didn't explore the opportunity. It just makes too much sense for the needs of this Chiefs team. As you saw on the external guys, Vernon Carey I had listed on our list, and the reason I put him in there is a lot of people say, oh, Vernon Carey of the Dolphins, a guy who's about 30-some-odd years old, and his better days are behind him. Well, Vernon Carey is interesting because he's been a starter at right tackle, he's been a starter at left guard, he's been a starter at right guard. You bring in a guy like that who already knows Brian Daboll and his system, played in Miami last year. Actually, Daboll's the one who moved him to right tackle, and Carey wasn't as good as a right tackle as he was as a right guard. But as I listed the Chiefs' depth, there are depth concerns. So if you can find a guy through free agency, whether it's Vernon Carey or someone else who can be a tackle and be a guard as a possible starter or be your primary backup, your primary swing player to all these positions. I also mentioned King Dunlap's another guy for the Philadelphia Eagles who started in multiple positions on the offensive line. Those guys are valuable when you're in a situation like the Chiefs heading into free agency. Keep that in mind also, Chiefs fans, when draft season rolls around and you're looking at offensive line prospects. We'll know a little bit more about the Chiefs' offensive line situation after the first couple weeks of free agency heading into the draft. But I think this is still going to be an area where the Chiefs address in free agency and in the draft. Let's quickly go to the defensive side of the football. We have just about 5 minutes left in the show here. And look at the defensive line. Wallace Gilberry, an unrestricted free agent. Wallace Gilberry is a guy, you mentioned guys you like, Brad. I like him, you like him. His production declined last year, though, with the Chiefs. He only had 3 total tackles. Played very sparingly, although he did play in all 16 games. He did have 2.5 sacks, but a far cry from the year that he had in 2010 when he led the team with 7 sacks. Kelly Gregg also scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent. We touched on the nose tackle situation, the Chiefs situation earlier when we talked to Iman Gordon earlier in the show, and Gordon has been re-signed yesterday. Kelly Gregg, rumors of retirement. He's 35 years old, an excellent one-year stopgap for the Chiefs last season. You see him making a tackle there. And we wish him well in retirement if that's the way he decides to go. The Chiefs have some work to do on the defensive line. I won't go through all the external guys since we're going to go through it quickly here, Brad, but Alan Bailey, circle him with Gilbert and Gregg and both of them possibly leaving the Chiefs. Circle Alan Bailey as a key to the Chiefs' defensive line in 2012. He made big strides as the year went on last year. The Chiefs need him to step up and be a solid contributor to sub-packages and be that 25-snap guy behind Dorsey and Jackson.
I will say, though, if Alan Bailey is going to contribute at all, he's really got to hit the weight room.
Billy Bicep got to hit the weight. Eat his spinach. That's Brad Young's joke of the day for you. Let's move on to
That's all I got.
2 linebacker. Not a lot of need at linebacker on the outside or the inside. You pretty much return the whole cast. You're starting 4 with the exception of Belcher, who's got the
It's an understatement. You're loaded at outside linebacker.
You're loaded at outside linebacker, and you've got some depth at inside linebacker. I think you could see some acquisitions through the draft, but at both of those positions, or through free agency, I would think draft mainly for both of those spots. Maybe you're looking for a guy now that Demario Williams has been released. It would make Brandon Seiler probably your backup to both Belcher and DJ. You might look for another guy to add to that list. I think it may be more of a draft need than a free agent need. Cornerback, the third cornerback in the art of the third quarterback. Who is going to be the Chiefs' third cornerback? Will it be Stanford Routt? Will it be Brandon Carr? Or will it be Javier Arenas or someone else? Brandon Carr, the marquee name, obviously, of the Chiefs' free agent class. The Chiefs have until 3 o'clock p.m. today to reach a contract extension with Brandon Carr, or he will become an unrestricted free agent. The Chiefs want to re-sign Brandon Carr, even after signing Stanford Routt to the 3-year, $19.6 million contract. But will Brandon Carr, he's gonna get some love on the open market. Will he re-sign with the Chiefs? That's to be determined. A lot of people don't think it's possible. I take the Chiefs at their word. I do believe the Chiefs, Brad. I think they want to re-sign him for the right price. I think hands down. You add him to your list of corners, and the Chiefs had the best secondary in the league, in my opinion. At least the best corners in the league.
He's top 10 on Evan Silva's free agent top 100, and a lot of people you know, everyone's been talking about him in the offseason, about how he's been so, he's very solid, very consistent, because he was a guy that people would go away from Flowers, and they would go right on him. And honestly, he was kind of a GOAT for a while, and he's a real heady guy. You talk to him, he's very, very grounded dude. He's a great dude. He's great with fans. I've seen him in all these different things the Chiefs and the players do such a good job of, the community carrying team, going out talking to schools and doing all this stuff. And he's a guy you don't got to drag to one of those things. He loves doing that kind of stuff. He's from a small school, Grand Valley State. The guy, he plays like he has a chip on his shoulder, but he doesn't have an attitude. He's a kind of a guy that I would love to have back with the Chiefs, but if he does go to another team, they're going to be really happy with him.
Yep, and I wish the best for Brandon Carr. Obviously, I hope he remains in Kansas City. I agree with you 100%, Brad.
But he's going to be coming. But Chiefs fans got to realize that he's the top cornerback out there, and that's going to command some serious money. And people are going to be opening up their pocketbooks. And if you really want Brandon Carr that bad, you're going to pay the guy so much money that's going to limit you. It's not fantasy football. You can't say, go sign Peyton Manning, sign him, sign this guy, and this, because you're going to run out, there's this thing called the salary cap.
And
so you kind of got to pick and choose what you're going to do.
needs across their roster. And
exactly.
When Stanford Route came available, I think it was a great business move by the Chiefs to sign him. It offers you some protection. If you want some good news, if you're a huge Brandon Carr fan, and you hear that, the Cowboys are all after him. There was a report last week from those that cover the Cowboys, and now Cortland Finnegan is top of there, has jumped Brandon Carr in the pole position of the Cowboys free agent want list. So there's some good news for you Brandon Carr fans if the Cowboys go and sign Finnegan. Maybe that's one less suitor for Carr. And, of course, the Cowboys also got slapped with that penalty yesterday and the cap penalty, which
That's a nice little surprise.
Yeah, nice little surprise heading into free agency. Let's round things up with the safety position. I think this is a hidden position of need, Brad, for the Chiefs. People say, what? You got Kendrick Lewis and you got Eric Berry. Eric Berry coming off a knee injury. You never know how those guys rebound from something like that. But look at the free agents. Rashard Langford, who the Chiefs can get back if they want. Savvy Piscatelli and John McGraw. Three guys who were all kind of that fill-in along with Donald Washington once Berry got hurt last year. And the Chiefs used three safeties a lot. McGraw's been a fantastic player as a reserve for the Chiefs. I know a lot of Chiefs fans get frustrated when McGraw has to start, but that's what you want in your third safety, is a guy who can start. Well, you have two safeties right now. Berry comes off left ACL surgery. Kendrick Lewis has surgery this offseason on a torn labrum. So you have two guys that are nicked up that are your starters with not much behind them. This is a position of need for the Chiefs to find a veteran, I think, to come in and be that third player and be able to start if those guys can't go. And if they can, the Chiefs play in so many sub-package sets, be the guy who can kind of roam at linebacker level. LaRon Landry of Washington is a guy who kind of fits the bill. He has injury concerns with his Achilles injury that's limited him the past 2 or 3 seasons. Jim Leonard from the New York Jets, he blew his knee out when he picked off Tyler Palko against the Chiefs earlier this year. But those are kind of the mold I'm looking at for the Chiefs in finding a guy that can be a starter if called upon. I do think it's a position of need. I think it's one that no one is talking about that follows the Chiefs.
Reggie Nelson's out there. Like you said, Jim Leonard. There are a lot of really good guys. And safety is one of those positions that you can get an older veteran guy. You see him all over the league continuing. I mean, even though Brian Dawkins is an absolute freak of nature, he's a guy who's been consistently doing it. Even whenever he left the Eagles, now he's continuing to do it with the Broncos. But you see a lot of those guys who are out there, and you've got young guys around them that I think to have a veteran guy at that position would be a very, very positive thing for the Chiefs.
As our man John Chadwick said in the chat room, 2 hours till Christmas, Brad. We're 2 hours away from the start of free agency. It should be wild. It should be fun. It's always great following the free agency frenzy this time of year. Again, Chiefs fans here in our chat room, a ton of fans in the chat room commenting, offering their opinion. Thanks for hanging with me as I was trying to anchor the show alongside Brad and punch in all the comments at our same time as we were a little short-staffed today. So thank you for hanging with it and being patient on your comments. Posting, as always, much love to you Chiefs fans. Next Tuesday when we come back, we're going to know a lot more about how the Chiefs look for 2012. This is Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers.